How will the Sarasota housing market react now that Hurricane Ian has passed us? That is one of the questions we're going to explore in this video. We're also going to look at local Sarasota data to provide you with some guidance in terms of where we've been and where we're headed to possibly, right? So we're going to make some predictions here. It's logical to believe that demand for Florida living, especially on the coastal side, will subside for fear of hurricanes, and that this will negatively impact the housing market. And so I thought the best way to predict what will happen next is to look at historical events that were very similar in nature. What happened after Hurricane Irma struck near Naples on September 10th, 2017. Naples got hammered pretty hard and experienced major flooding as well, just like this time around. Let's refer to this reference chart here. You will notice three lines, which represent the median sales price from January 2016 to August 2022. The blue line is for Naples. This red line here is for the national price, and the red line below it is for Florida. As you can see here, the Naples median sales price dropped for a few months, then recovered the following year. This is what I believe. Part of the drop soon after the hurricane is due to the time needed to clean up the area to get the infrastructure back to a safe level. So added Sarasota to this graph, which is in yellow. And if we go back to September 2017, the median price was $270,000, and then Hurricane Irma hits and the prices shot up towards the end of the year. Slightly dipped in the new year of 2018 with an increase again up until April, and then it started evening out towards the remainder of 2018. And I think what happened here is that a lot of the people that were affected in, say, Naples or Marco Island may have been looking to purchase in safer areas such as Sarasota, and perhaps the ones that have been watching the news also decided that Sarasota made more sense for them. So they purchased in an area that's just never had a big problem with hurricanes when it comes to flooding, because since the weather records have been kept, Sarasota has never been in the eye of a hurricane. And so a lot of demand was front loaded in the end of 2017. And so the key takeaway here is that previous hurricanes have not shown long-term impact on prices in the local housing market. Though some neighborhoods that were heavily affected by flooding and damage will likely experience lower home prices in the future. Also, people's perception of flooding is going to be heightened, and they're going to want to reduce the risk of living in an area where flooding is likely to happen. So they're going to look at the floodplains in order to help them decide which neighborhood is considered safer to move into, less chances of there being flooding in the future. If you live in Sarasota, if you live in Florida, make sure you know what flood zone you live in. There was just so much confusion in terms of flood zones and which ones people lived in, because FEMA is rezoning. And so there's old maps out there that people were referring to when in fact they should have been referring to a new map. I believe that a lot more people are going to get flood insurance now. Some of the flooding that we experienced this time around were in areas that typically don't get flooding, such as in Orlando. And a lot of the homeowners there did not have flood insurance. I personally don't have flood insurance, but I'm definitely thinking about getting it. So if hurricanes have not shown to negatively affect the local home prices, what if the market was already on the downturn to begin with? So then the question is the Sarasota real estate market crashing? We're going to look at a report for Sarasota real estate data for single family homes, because most of you are going to be interested in single family homes. And let's start off with the median sales price, which came in at $540,000 for September, which is actually up from August. So the prices are starting to turn again. They're starting to trend upwards. We'll have to see what happens in October. If we look at the average and median sales price, just in a trend line format, the green being the median sales price, the blue being the average sales price, you can see that it dipped in July and now it's starting to move back up again, right? So sales price list price ratio, which basically indicates how much a seller is getting for their property based on their list price. And at one point it was 103% of the list price. That really comes down to all these multiple offer situations that were in the marketplace. And now you're probably seeing a lot of price drops, and we can actually see why that is, because they're getting 97% of the list price. Buyers have a little bit more say in the market. Numbers of properties sold, it was at 270 properties, single family homes, and that really is trending downwards. So you would expect prices to go down, but this is what's happening here. And I'm going to move over to this chart, which is the inventory chart. It's also starting to trend downwards. So yes, we're selling less, but there's also less inventory in the market. And so when we talk about prices in a real estate market, it really is dictated by supply and demand. This is what's concerning. If we look at new listings, new single family homes added, it really has dropped dramatically from May to September. And I can tell you that September line, if we compare it to even pre-pandemic days, is very low, about 2/3 of what it really should be. The market has not crashed yet because it's still up versus 2021. However, there will likely be additional interest rate hikes given today's job market report, where the unemployment rate came in at 3.5%. This may sound like really good news, but it really isn't when you line it up with the Fed's mission, which is to lower inflation. And so what's most likely going to happen now is that the Feds are going to dramatically increase the interest rates. And with that, typically the mortgage rates are going to respond as well with an increase. Let's talk about homeowners insurance premiums, which has been a real pain point for Floridians and those people moving here, because it's 3 times as much as the national average and is about $4,000 on average now. And here's what's definitely going to happen. Our premiums are going to go up. And that's because we share in the insurance claims in Florida. Some people are saying that it could go up by as much as 40% or even more. More private carriers will likely pull out of Florida or drop coverage in certain locations, making the possibility of even higher premiums a real thing. Now, that definitely can deter some people from moving into Florida, but given that the majority of the folks that are moving from Florida are coming from places such as New York, Canada, and California, where home prices, where the standard of living is still more expensive than it is here in Florida, I just don't believe that that is going to really make much of a difference when it comes to the demand side for Florida. With increasing mortgage rates and a likelier recession looming in the near future, I do not believe that the real estate market is crashing here in Sarasota. It's not crashing in Florida, but I would say that out of many places in Florida, Sarasota is one of the more popular ones to move to, and that desirability of moving to Sarasota isn't going to go away anytime soon. When we looked at the median price in September, it already started to take a turn up, and now that we have to deal with the consequences of Hurricane Ian, and I do believe that a lot of people who have lost their homes in Northport, in Englewood, in Naples, may be looking for a new home in the Sarasota area. And I believe that this demand is going to put more price pressure in Q4 that we typically wouldn't feel. Make sure you follow credible industry forecasters such as Freddie Mac, Goldman Sachs, Fannie Mae, and I will continue to monitor the data and provide you with monthly updates to see how things are shaping up in the market. And it may very well change. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, like this video, it does help out the channel. And leave me a comment below. Let me know, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to crash? Do you think the prices are going to hold? Thank you so much for watching today, especially until the very end. I always appreciate it when you do. Take care.